Hello folks, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. And in this video we're going to work a bit on these trees, and you probably know what these trees are. These are Pollard willow trees. Farmers used to plant those along ditches, and they really grow well when it's wet. The good thing about them was that at the same time farmers used to put a fence around it, some wires around it to keep the cattle in the field. But also it would keep the dirt together. So it had quite some functions, and it was cheap for the farmer because, he hadn't to buy those. He could just take off some branches and plant them, and they would grow again. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. Typically, you would need to trim them about every 5 to 7 years, and it's the time to do it right now. You do it when it's not freezing. Right now it's February, and it is no longer freezing here, so we can actually do this kind of work. I already have trimmed a couple of them, but some are actually missing, and that is just because they died on me, so I had to chop them.
I do like to use these special fuels for this two-stroke chainsaw because it prevents sediment over time, especially during the winter. And I also do like to use the proper oil because it needs to grease the chain. Otherwise, it's going to get dull real quick, and the sledge is going to get worn out real quick. After I was done with removing the old trees that were sick, I started to trim the healthy ones, and these branches are gonna come in handy later, and you'll see that very soon because I'm going to use them to plant new trees. Because this is the nice thing about willow trees: you can actually take a branch, put it in the ground, take the skin off and let it sit, and it will create a new willow. This is really nice, so you don't have to go out and buy those things. Anyway, at some moment in time it's handy to climb into the tree because the head is pretty big, and it makes it easier to trim it. And here you see the tree almost complete, and now it's time for me to do the remaining 5 trees.
And the ones that are dead, I'm going to replace. Now, you could go out and buy brand new trees for that and pay about 25 to 30 euros or dollars for it. But you could also take these stems or branches and then basically cut them off, and then peel off the skin on the bottom and then plant them, and they will actually grow. So I'll show you that in this video on how I'm going to do this, because all the ones that I have here, they were planted that way. If you're looking on the trees that I've cut because they were kind of dead, you can actually see that where the cut is, that there's kind of a bacteria or rot inside, which actually killed the tree. It must be some kind of a disease. I don't know what the disease is, but if any of you knows what that is, then please let me know. If you look closely, you can actually see the fungus that's inside the tree, and I think that's what killed them. The good thing is we have also additional wood for the fireplace.
And you know what they say about wood: you can heat yourself 4 times with it. Once you cut it, once you stack it, once you bring it in the house, and then finally once you put it in the fireplace. And maybe a 5th time when you put the ashes outside.
So I've made a tirage of the wood, so the small branches, they will go actually in the back of the field. But the big pieces of wood, well, they will go into the fireplace.
So you probably wonder when he's going to show us on how he's planting these branches into the ground to create new willow trees. Well, it's coming.
And some of these I have selected to create new trees out of it. I have selected the best branches out of the trees, which I will now cut to length, probably about 2.5 meters, because I have to put them in the ground about 1 meter. And I'm going to use the straight pieces, so you can cut off on the top and on the back, and making sure that you have one straight piece. And then we'll drill a hole in the ground, and we'll put them in after we removed some of the bast. And then hopefully they will develop roots. And I know that most of you know that I do like race cars and cars in general, that I'm a petrol head, but I also love nature. So that's how I'm going to take care of it. Now, these branches here, there's not much I can do with it. But what I'm going to do is to cut off the lower part here, and these will actually be used for the fireplace. The top part, the thinner branches and all the others you've seen, I will pile them up in the back of this field. We already have quite some stuff laying around, and then that's where the insects, the rodents and even the birds can live in, because we are really short of that kind of an environment for those animals. As you've seen, I kept some of those branches aside, and those I'm going to plant into the ground, and for that one I'm using this kind of a drill. I call it the drill. It makes a hole in the ground, and I'm going to drill a hole about this deep, about 1 meter. And I'm also taking the bast off the wood. So here we have the branch, and I'm going to scrape off at least for about 1 meter the bast of the wood, so it can actually develop its roots.
There are ways to improve the forming of roots, and there's certain powder that you can apply on that branch. But you can also do it with willow water, and that's what I will do, which is a cook-off of the juices of the willow tree. And here I'm actually drilling that hole. Now note that my drill is about the same size of the branch we're going to put in. And here I'm putting the branch in, and I'm trying to make sure that it's absolutely all the way to the end and that it's straight. And then we're going to dam it, as I call it, so make sure the ground really closes closely to that.
So folks, we are at the end of this video, and I'm going to continue to plant these branches. I already have planted 3 willow branches. I'm going to plant 2 more on the other side and another 5 on the far end. I hope that you enjoyed this video as much as I did, and I'll see you in my next video, which is probably going to be all about cars again. Bye bye.